Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday to you on this November 14th, 2025. Got all your stories for your rush hour ride home. We're following the biggest story in the world, I believe, right now, that being the Epstein files. All of the new emails, 20,000 or so of them, that have been released by the Epstein estate. Well, now we have Donald Trump saying that he wants his Department of Justice to investigate the Democrats that are in those emails. I want everybody investigated. This is why there's an overwhelming support for the release of all of the Epstein files. But we'll get into that story. I've got what Candace Owens has to say. She thinks Trump is being set up. It's interesting, but that'll be the second half of the episode. First half, we've got more Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni. Again, as interesting as the Epstein files, but maybe less of a global consequence. We've got Baldoni sharing video evidence of him hugging other men. Why is that important? Well, Blake claims that there's this culture where there's all this unwanted hugging, so he just shares all the videos of everybody hugging each other. I'll share what he has to say. It's pretty bogus, but it's also wild to think how far this case has gone, and this is like the main claim that they have, which is he's hugging people at the workplace. It's a conversation worth having. We'll have all these stories and more. It starts right now on The Rush. So yeah, these are the types of articles coming out. Not looking good for Blake. Justin Baldoni releases clip seemingly showing Blake Lively doing what she accuses him of doing in a legal twist. That being a scene where Blake actually improvised kissing him. The scene was later moved locations. People wonder if Ryan Reynolds was reviewing the dailies and didn't approve some of the smooching going on. We're going to get into all of this. There's a lot to dive into there. Let's start with a lighter, very interesting story. Apple set to introduce digital IDs that will be accepted at TSA checkpoints. I don't know how or why, but I feel like this could go terribly wrong. Have a listen.
All been there before, rushing to get to the airport when you suddenly realize you forgot your passport. Well, Apple says it's got you covered. The company launching a new feature yesterday. It's called Digital ID. It's a way to carry a copy of your passport on your iPhone or Apple Watch. The ID is then stored in your Apple Wallet. Now, right now, digital ID can be used at TSA checkpoints at more than 250 U.S. airports, with more coming later. However, very important to note here, it does not replace a physical passport and cannot be used for international travel or border crossing.
So what are they trying to say? It's like a passport for your phone, but it's not a passport, but it can be used, but it can't. I want to give you guys a nice public service announcement. You might already know this story, but several months ago, I lost my ID at the Nashville airport. You know, you have a baby, I have to assemble and deassemble a crib, a stroller every time I go through security. It's a pain in the ass, right? There's wet wipes everywhere. I got a dirty diaper in my pocket. It's a whole melee. You want to search me, sir? Go right ahead. Either way, I lost my ID, and then I had to try to find an ID to get back once I had made it through the airport. Well, as it turns out, you can travel through airports without an ID. Did you guys know this? They ended up having to call security, and it took about 15 minutes of answering questions. What's my zip code and what county do I live in, and personal questions. And I was like, look, I'm verified on Instagram. Just let me through. Either way, interesting. It's a new way for them to track you. Okay, let's move it on from there. Baltimore police. This is an interesting story. What the hell's going on in Baltimore? We shared this a few weeks ago. Good to see there's some ramifications. A cop car nearly runs down pedestrian. Now the officer is charged with attempted murder. How about this scene? We shared this wild clip. The cop car was literally going through like farms and through people's front yards and then ended up crashing. Well, you can't do that. It's not like they were even chasing this guy for any good reason. Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley said, "What is seen in this video is not only disturbing but alarming. This is not how we expect our officers to behave, and this incident does not reflect the values or standards of the Baltimore Police Department. This is why I think cop cars should be pink. I think we've over-militarized the police. We need to put them in pink, Legally Blonde style. We need to feminize the police departments just a little bit so that we're not running around playing like, Grand Theft Auto or whatever the hell's going on here. Either way, good luck with that court case. All right, let's move it on. Those are a few of your updates. Of course, don't try to make everything Baldoni at all times, but there is a lot of Baldoni to get to. So this is what this case has come about, right? It started as Blake Lively getting the whole crew the whole cast to unfollow Justin Baldoni. And then Blake said there was harassment on the set. Some news reported that there was sexual assault, which was not true. But these are the heavy terms that were being used. Well, now we're finding out Blake Lively improvised an unscripted kiss on the set of It Ends With Us. And in movies that involve rom-coms and things like that, I don't think it would be too rare to improvise a kiss, although in today's world, because it could be taken or abused in a way that's unwanted, you have to be very careful with this. But then again, if you're Blake Lively, you might make the argument, well, it's not as bad because I'm not in the position of power, or whatever argument she's making, which I completely disagree with that argument. I think if you're going to accuse one person of a bad workplace, but then you're contributing to it in that way, I don't think that makes, two wrongs don't make a right. So here it is. This is the scene. Now, having worked years in background, I will tell you, when you're extras in the scene, a lot of times they'll set some energy. So they'll have people doing crosses and background extras walking by and whatnot, all to build up the momentum for the scene. So they're rolling on it. The time code at the bottom, giving it in an abundance of extra, information to the scene. Blake's going by here, and she passes, and then Justin Baldoni's character is walking by and looking, amazing, nice, strong arms, sexy. And here she comes. He says goodbye to some sick kid, and then here's the scene where she kisses him. Have a listen.
Hi, I'm so sorry.
Wait, what are you?
No, I just.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, you forgot this.
Wait, what? No, babe, this isn't mine.
So now, does Baldoni care that there's a kiss that was initiated by Blake that might not have been worked out with the? I don't think so. I think he cares about what motivates the scene. What can you put on camera that makes it look like these characters are in love and all of that stuff that, I don't want to over-explain. I can only imagine what's going through his head. But what's important about this is she's got this whole lawsuit, she's got the burden of proof to prove that he had a reckless workplace that was dangerous, that made her feel a certain way, that is worth the tens and hundreds of millions of dollars of damage that she seeks, right? That's the proof she has to put together. And of course, and by the way, one of the initial reasons I thought Baldoni was the bad guy here is probably the same reason a lot of people did before looking into it, which is that all of the cast members unfollowed Justin Baldoni. What could he have possibly done that would lead to all of the cast members unfollowing him? What we have found out since then is that they unfollowed on the behest, in the prompting of Blake Lively's, in some sort of like, hey, I'll take care of you. We're going to have control of the next film, whatever. Again, what we know since this movie came out was that Brendan Sklenar was then signed to the same agency, the very big agency that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are atop of. So again, now Blake could have wanted them to unfollow Justin because Justin's a monster, this and that. But more likely, what I've said all along is that Blake didn't like being directed by someone who she saw as lesser than. You could throw into it ideas that maybe Blake had a crush on Baldoni and felt rejected, or maybe Ryan Reynolds had inserted some idea into Blake's head that Justin was being manipulative on set or whatnot. But when it came down to it, from all the footage we've seen, Justin Baldoni was wearing multiple hats as a producer, director, and star of his first big screen project. That maybe, there was stress involved, but are we going to go ahead and call that harassment? So now we're going to talk about the hugs. Lots of hugs to talk about. And I'm going to share a pretty wild deposition for you guys where we're counting how many hugs were there on the set. Let me tell you something. If your whole case relies on were there too many hugs on the set, I don't think you have much of a case. Take a quick break. We have to feed the family. Go to our sponsor. When we come back, I'm going to share this and some other video that is going to leave you guys, I think, siding with Baldoni on this one, but you be the judge. That coming next. Most holiday gifts end up in a drawer or the back of your closet or accidentally left at your cousin's house. Not this one. Mint Mobile is offering unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. That's their best deal of the year. It's the only holiday gift you'll actually use every single day. That's why I'm with Mint. You get a 3, 6, or 12-month unlimited plan for $15 a month. You can bring your current phone and number over to Mint, get high-speed data, unlimited text and talk on the nation's largest 5G network. So don't get them socks, get them premium wireless for $15 a month. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/TRH. That's mintmobile.com/TRH. Limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $95 for 6, or $180 for a 12-month plan. Required $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Over 35 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. It ends with lawsuits on Instagram doing a fantastic job covering this case. They said, Mr. Gottlieb, as a lawyer, are you not embarrassed yet? How desperate is this team to vilify Justin for giving hugs? So here are the questions. You hugged Miss Lively on multiple occasions on the set, right? And he goes, yes. And by the way, I understand when you're doing a deposition, you'll try to overturn every stone, right? I remember I was in a deposition. I was being deposed when I was sideswiped in a car accident. I was in a bad car accident. My car flipped on the side. It was all because someone ran a light or ran a stop sign. Well, they were asking me questions like, "Do you have a dog?" Yes. How much does your dog weigh? 50 pounds. Do you pick your dog up to take it to the bath? Yeah. They were trying to make it as though I wasn't injured because I had a dog. Like they'll look for anything that they can. So they're going, so you hug Miss Lively? Yes. How many times? I don't know. So the question was every day, and the witness is like, no. And then Blake's lawyer says, how many times would you estimate that you hugged Blake Lively? He goes, that I hugged Miss Lively? And then he goes, yes, on the set. So not outside of the set environment, but at work on the set. And then his attorney goes, objection. And then Baldoni says, are these hugs? I'm so sorry. And then the question, are these hugs that I initiated or are these hugs that I was a recipient of? You can characterize it however you'd like. I just want to be as accurate in my testimony as possible. You can include hugs that you believe you initiated and hugs you believe Miss Lively initiated. And the objection, because he's like, I mean, what's the right answer? 7? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, do you know how many times you hug somebody? It's some people, hugs are like a handshake. I understand there's work environments where you wouldn't hug, but trust me when I say, when you work in entertainment, it's like being at camp. You're usually family. You're usually, I was in a scene study class, in an acting class, and our acting teacher always wanted us to hug after the scene, just because you would be in the scene playing a different character, whatever the energy was, and sometimes you bring that energy out of the scene. So as a way of like wiping things dry and getting back to a neutral stance after the scene, everyone would hug. It's theater, like you ever been on a band trip? Everyone's massaging each other and making out. You know what I mean? This is nothing. Hugging? Is this what we're talking about? All right. So anyway, lump them all together. He's like, how many, number of times? So he says, maybe a greeting and an exit. So at the most, maybe, again, I don't know. That's my answer to you, Mr. Gottlieb. I don't know. By the way, should we reenact these depositions? Can we reenact these? I would play Baldoni, but I'd have to do biceps for the next 6 years and take testosterone and be 10 years younger, and not be as a white Catholic. I'm pretty pale, folks. All right. I don't have that beautiful olive skin. And when you don't know, that's what I always want your answer to be. And he goes, I don't know. So then the question, do you know who Vivian Baker is? He says, Vivian Baker is Miss Lively's makeup artist, I believe. Do you know that she testified under oath in this case? And he said, I assume her testimony would be under oath. Do you know that she testified under oath? Yes. Are you aware that she testified that there was a culture of hugging on the set of It Ends With Us? He goes, I am now. Are you aware that she said that made a number of people uncomfortable? I find that odd. You find that odd? Why? Because Mrs. Baker was often the one that would run up and give me a hug. And because of that, you find it odd that she testified that a number of people felt uncomfortable with the culture of hugging on the set of It Ends With Us? He goes, correct. So yeah, pretty wild. I mean, crazy, right? You got this makeup lady, Mrs. Baker. She's seemingly loves to hug these tree trunk arms of Baldoni. Unlike Travis Kelce's tree trunks, very different. Although I wouldn't, compare the two. Who knows what Baldoni's packing? He seems happy. So does Emily. Let's move it on. Justin says the last thing I want to do is kiss this woman. So this is from the intimacy coordinator. Now I'm actually I think this is taken a little bit out of context, but the note says. This is the note. Not sure what to do here about intimacy. She's moved the scene from the bedroom into the kitchen, which takes away from the intimacy and how I was planning on shooting it. I wanted her to run into the kitchen from another area to sell the misdirect that it was an accident. She has removed kissing, which is fine in the end. The last thing I want to do is kiss this woman. But the point is they need to get distracted enough to forget about the oven. And now with dialogue here, it changes it from a timeless moment of two people about to make love to dialogue that brings us into the realm of time. Not sure what to do on the scene. This was a heavy scene very heavy scene. And the quote that's being pulled out of context is Justin saying, the last thing I want to do is kiss this woman. I believe in reading this, that this is the motivation of the character, not the actor. So that the last thing Justin Baldoni's character would want to do is to kiss this woman in the scene. But it could be, and maybe there's clarification, that he says he doesn't want to kiss Blake Lively. I personally think Justin Baldoni doesn't care whether he has to kiss Blake Lively or not, which, by the way, is what I think most people feel when they shoot scenes like this, which is they're both good-looking people, they're both married. If the scene calls for a kiss, they kiss. Now, will emotions come up if they get into these scenes? Maybe. I mean, it's only natural if they're shooting a scene where they actually do feel the emotion of attraction to each other, but a good actor can leave that where it is and then go home and wipe it away. So this idea that this culture was just so off, it's just not reflected by what we're seeing. Here's Justin Baldoni blocking a hug from Isabella Ferrer, which is hilarious. Isabella plays the younger version of Blake Lively here. And, here's Baldoni giving her the big old high five. So he gives her this high five with those redwood tree trunk arms. And then she's going in, and this is where, you can't share this without the Curb Your Enthusiasm music. It's so awkward. We've all been there where you go for the hug and the other person doesn't. So now Isabella's going in for the hug. And then she's like, oh no. Oh, it's embarrassing. And again, I don't think she's sexualizing him. I don't think any of that's happening. Every once in a while, you go in for a hug, you don't read the situation, and then you feel weird afterwards. Okay? So there it is. Not a big deal. Here's from the actual filing, the summary judgment that Baldoni wants, which is he's asking the judge to just throw this whole thing out. He says, this is from... It discusses the hugging. The basis of many of Lively's claims has nothing to do with her sex, gender. For instance, Lively contends there was too much hugging on the set. She does not claim, let alone prove, that hugging was gender specific. The undisputed evidence, including video footage, shows both men and women being hugged. Perhaps there was a general over-generosity of spirit among people on the set, but such facially sex-neutral incidents, even if they made Lively subjectively uncomfortable, do not create an environment that a reasonable person would find hostile or abusive. Yeah, look, I mean, I worked on Gossip Girl. I've seen Blake Lively on sets. That was a set where everyone's hugging and, like I said before, it's like summer camp. That's what a movie set is. You're working 15-hour days. Everyone's on top of each other, and that's the environment, period. And so, of course, there is Baldoni hugging other men on set. So just evidence they keep sharing, saying like, look, yeah, people are hugging him. He's the star. He's the center. He's the director, the producer. He's cutting the paychecks. This is younger version of him, I believe. Oh, no, this is Brendan Sklenar's younger version, I think. And again, there's very, very normal behavior to see. Again, I understand there are jobs out there where you wouldn't hug your boss, but then there are jobs where you would. And it's hard to look as an outsider at that situation and see it anything other than normal culture. That's how I feel about that. All right, well, coming up next, we've got Candace Owens responding to the Epstein files. She actually discusses why she's left MAGA, why she doesn't believe in the movement. She's accusing Donald Trump of being blackmailed. I've got this story coming for you next.